humans, animals, plants. Long ago, the three nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the human nation attacked. Only humans, leaders of all three nations, could stop them. But when the world needed them most, they denied their help. 40 years have passed and we discovered a new project, an anti-coral reef destruction campaign. We are just starting, but I believe that we can save the world.
Let's start off with a few facts. Coral reefs are large underwater structures composed of the skeletons of coral. We can find them in Australia, Indonesia, Fiji, the Philippines, Belize, the large Caribbean, and in Mexico. Reefs provide a spawning, nursery, refuge, and feeding areas for a large variety of organisms. They also act as natural breakwaters. The Great Barrier Reef generates more than $1.5 billion every year for the Australian economy, from fishing and tourism.
There are 5 main causes of coral reef destruction. The first one is reef bleaching. It occurs when water conditions cause coral to expel the internal microorganisms that give corals their vibrant colors. Bleaching events happen due to a number of factors, including an increase in water temperature. Another cause is poison fishing. It is unfortunately common practice to use cyanide and other poisons to fish for coral reef dwelling critters. The poison is not specific enough to necessarily kill a specific fish, but is used to stun fish that are then used in domestic saltwater aquariums. The third one is water pollution. Water pollution is perhaps the most obvious cause of coral reef destruction. Reefs are harmed when oil, fertilizer, human and animal waste are dumped in the area. Not only do these elements change the chemical makeup of the water, waste can also block life-giving sunlight to the reef. The last but not least cause is careless tourism. Divers, snorkelers, and other sea lovers often inadvertently damage the reef. By simply touching coral, the oils on human fingers can kill whole areas of coral reefs. Boating and fishing can also damage coral reefs with carelessly dropped anchors or lines.
The consequences of coral reef destruction are things that will always come back to us. Loss of coral reefs would be devastating to one of the most grand pools of biodiversity in the whole world. They help seed the oceans and provide food to a complex web of organisms that lead all the way back to man. They act as natural barriers to shorelines, and as they die, coastlines become more susceptible to damage and flooding. Tropical storms and high waves would be the ones that could make the most damage if coral reefs were to disappear. Of course, not only are we the ones to be damaged by this, but other animals in the marine ecosystem too, like sharks. Sharks work in the ocean and in coral reefs by cycling nutrients between it and the open ocean, removing invasive species and getting rid of weak fish carrying disease. If coral reefs were to disappear, then sharks would lose one of their main ways to obtain food and nutrients. And as we all know, if one animal disappears in an ecosystem, the organisms that consume them would die and affect the food chain and so forth. Of course, sharks are just an example.
Climate change is one of the main causes of coral reef destruction, but it is also one of the main consequences. Due to the unprecedented rate of environmental change over recent years and the expected continuation of this trend, there is concern that some communities of marine organisms that are unable to evolve rapidly will suffer irreversible damage. Effects upon marine microflora and fauna have already been reported and include changes to distribution patterns, functional impairment of organisms, and alterations to the reproduction cycles, affecting complex food webs. On the other hand, without the coral reefs, the ocean will not be able to absorb as much carbon dioxide, leaving more CO2 in the atmosphere.
How to prevent coral reef destruction? For this, you can conserve water, help reduce pollution, dispose of your trash properly, support reef-friendly business, plant a tree, practice safe and responsible diving and snorkeling, volunteer for a coral reef cleanup, contact your government representatives, and more.
Other things you can also do to save coral reefs from destruction is to firstly educate yourself about the matter, then be respectful if you ever plan on visiting a coral reef or to go snorkeling. Spread the message, reduce the pollution on water especially, start recycling, and conserve water.
Many ways to prevent coral reef destruction. First of all, conserve water. The less water you use, the less runoff and wastewater. Help reduce pollution. Walk, bike, or ride the bus. Research what you put on your lawn. Dispose of your trash properly. Don't leave unwanted fishing lines or nets in the unorganic things.
Protect coral reefs if you want to live.